All right. Okay. Right. We have a loud. Is it Karen or Kristen who is here?
We're both here.
Oh, you're both there. Okay. Promote you to panelist, and then we'll be able to see you. There they are. Okay. All right. Welcome, everyone. I will get started. The public hearing for 15 Main Street. I have to read a little preamble because of the virtual nature of the building, and then we can go right ahead. Pursuant to Governor Baker's March 12th, 2020 order suspending certain provisions of the open meeting law, General Law, Chapter 30A, Section 18, and the Governor's March 15th, 2020 order imposing strict limitation on the number of people that may gather in one place, this meeting of the Southborough Historical Commission will be conducted via remote participation to the greatest extent possible. Specific information and the general guidelines for remote participation by members of the public and/or parties with a right and/or requirement to attend this meeting can be found on the Town of Southborough website at www.southboroughtown.com. For this meeting, members of the public who wish to listen to the meeting may do so in the following manner: www.southboroughtown.com/remote meetings. No in-person attendance of members of the public will be permitted, but every effort will be made to ensure that the public can adequately access the proceedings in real time via technological means. In the event that we are unable to do so, despite best efforts, we will post on Southborough's website an audio or video recording, transcript, or other comprehensive record of proceedings as soon as possible after the meeting. All right, that was a mouthful. Welcome to Karen and Kristen. We have all of our members here: Kate Battles, Amanda Gleason, Jim Blaschke, you met today, Karen, and me. So I think to begin, we'd just like to hear from you what your thoughts are on 15 Main Street and why you would like to demolish it and what your plans are for that space. So thank you for attending, and let's get started.
Well, thank you, and thank all of you for your time. I know you're all volunteers, and I appreciate the work you're doing for the town of Southborough. So thank you. I love Southborough, and I love the location where my daughter and I live now, 15 Main Street. And I grew up in the town, and I want to remain here, and specifically I want to remain at 15 Main Street. However, the large house that I live in is just getting it's getting far too costly to maintain. And after years of maintaining and rehabilitating it, I've come to the painful decision that it's far too expensive to continue to maintain the way it should be kept. So with the help of my contractor and architect and some other help, I've come up with a plan to build to rebuild the home and to make it a much more efficient house. And the goal is that once the house is built, when you drive by it, you wouldn't even recognize that it was necessary. a new house. I like very kind of traditional things, and it will be very similar to the house that's presently there. It will just, you know, have much more efficient, upgraded heating system, electric system, so on and so forth.
Just curious about one thing in terms of costs. I did notice on the application for a demolition permit, there was a cost listed of $1,331 to demolish the building. That seems extremely low. Is that I just want to make sure that we're talking about a complete demolition here.
It is a complete demolition. That's my contractor gave me that price. I think most likely because a lot of the material that is going to be demolished is going to be given to various charities, so that whatever can be used will be kind of picked out of it. And it's the same contractor that demolished the barn / garage last Christmas time.
Do you have a budget for the new house?
The short answer is no. No, I don't. I'm working on that now.
Okay. Do you have anything from the contractor as an estimate for what it would cost to do the necessary renovations in terms of like the heating system or any upgrades that will be required to make the house more energy efficient, whatever?
Yeah, over the last 10 years, I've received different quotes. So one problem I mentioned to you today, the house just has tremendous water problems, and to fix the water problems, just the roof alone would be $40,000. So by the time I start adding everything up, I could have a much more efficient home that will last, you know, hopefully 300 years into the future.
Mm-hmm.
So we're creating history.
Okay, so we don't have sort of like a comparison of what it would cost to renovate as opposed to what it would cost to rebuild yet, but that's kind of underway. Is that?
Well, yeah, I mean, I can give it to you if you'd like. My background is I've worked in insurance, property casualty for 30 years. And in addition to that, I've done quite a bit of complete renovations, gut rehabs, historic rehabs, and I've also done a lot of, you know, real estate development. So I know myself, you know, what it would cost to make the house more efficient. And by the time you start adding all that up, we're looking at, you know, $500,000. Mm-hmm. So the question becomes, do I want to kind of put a Band-Aid fix on the property and it's still vinyl siding, you know, fieldstone foundation, you know, a plastic home and plastic windows. And if I were to take out the parts of the house that are interesting and rebuild the house, that would be, you know, much more aesthetically pleasing, as well as a much nicer and efficient house to live in.
Okay. Does anyone else have any questions?
As a starter, I guess I'd ask, and I imagine you are, because you said today you've been in the house about 15 years, if I remember right?
We property probably about 15 years ago, yes. Karen's lived in the property probably,
At least 10.
I think Karen's lived in the property for 10 years, but I bought the property probably about 15 years ago.
Right, okay. At the time you bought it or since, have you become familiar with the historic significance of the property, in particular Moses Newton and his role in the town, building the house and so on?
Yes,
So you're familiar with the degree to which the house is a part of the town's history, I think 1811 originally on?
Yeah.
I knew a little bit about the background and and Rebecca sent over some information today.
Right.
And I guess I would also just say, I know the location of the town, of the property in the town and in the downtown Southborough area and significance. So the location is probably an important aspect of the house, more so than even Mr. Newton's ownership.
Right. The reason I brought up Newton is that back in 2000, the house was surveyed and described as meeting the criteria for the National Register of Historic Properties. Just didn't know if you were aware of that designation.
I saw that on an email today from your colleague Rebecca.
Oh, it looks like your video has frozen a little, but there we go.
We have a child intervening.
Well, I think, I can give you my thoughts, and other members can give some thoughts about it. And then if you have any further questions, we can discuss it and then take a vote. So just to explain the demolition delay bylaw a little bit, is that it's triggered when a house is determined to be historically or architecturally significant, which would be built before 1925, and on the survey that we included from the Mass Cultural Resources Inventory. And of course, 15 Main Street meets that criteria, which is why we're having this hearing. And the next step for us is to vote on whether we feel as a commission that the house it's in the public interest to preferentially preserve the house, in which case we would go through the procedure of the demolition delay bylaw. And to make that judgment, we would look at a few things, to be honest. Most historically and architecturally significant properties would be preferentially preserved, except for some extreme circumstances. This building, your home, which I think is lovely, and thank you for the interior photos too, because it's just charming. I grew up in an old house. The house I grew up in was built in 1850. I certainly remember the ongoing maintenance and the costs involved with maintaining and updating an older home. But it's in reasonably good shape from at least what we can see, visibly. And of course, you mentioned the location being in the center of town, where we have an application in for the National Historic Registered District. This house qualifies as part of that. It also qualifies individually as to be on the National Register of Historic Places, according to the consultants who did the survey in 2000. And because a family member from the founding family of the town, one of the founding families, built the house. He was a master carpenter. He built other houses on the street. We feel that the history, or at least I can't speak for everyone else, I feel the history and the architecture of the house definitely meet the criteria of being preferentially preserved and that being in the public interest. So I would vote in favor of beginning the process of the 9 months that the procedure we go through with the demolition delay bylaw. But that is my perspective, and I'm, eager to hear from the other members and, discuss it further if there are any questions. Kate?
All right. I'm Kate Battles. Ladies, I live down on Lattisquama, so I walk by your house all the time. And I also live in an old home that has required an awful lot of maintenance. So I definitely understand the struggle. Our role, however, as the appointed members of the commission is to provide people with the background on their historical properties, to discuss options through use of like the adaptive reuse, and then to provide, in this case, if we vote for preferentially preserving the action plan, which will give you the steps that we would ask you to follow. So I think at this point, I'm certainly in favor of preferentially preserving, just based on the fact that it's an 1811 Moses Newton house. I feel like in Southborough right now, there's sort of an ever dwindling supply of historic properties, and Main Street and certainly down in Lattisquama is sort of just a small but nice grouping of them. And I fully respect and understand the undertaking of renovating. I just feel at this point in the process, it's our duty to vote for preferentially preserving and presenting you guys with the action plan. That's it.
Okay. Amanda?
Sure. So I agree with the preferentially preserving the property for the reasons that were previously stated: the location of the property, the history of the property, the location, the character of that area of town, and that we have been tasked with helping to preserve some of the historic character that Southborough is loved for.
And Jim?
I can relate to as I mentioned, Mr. and I've done a fair amount of my own GC work, and I understand the cost of building and renovating, and I've probably been through the process of upgrading a dozen homes, I guess, over the course of my ownership career. So I understand the challenges and the costs and the mixed feelings that come with them. But when I look at this and the fact that it's effectively qualified for the historic register, that document was in place back as far as 2000. This is not a new, decision about the property. As much as I have mixed feelings, I lean towards and would vote for preserving it on that basis, that it truly is one of the last remaining historic buildings in.
Do you have any questions for us or other comments?
What does that mean for us?
Oh, well, we can certainly, yeah, we'll go through that after the vote. So I guess, are we ready to vote? Someone want to make a motion?
I can make a motion that that 15 Main Street be preferentially preserved.
My second.
Let's do a roll call vote. Kate Battles,
Yes.
Amanda Gleason,
Yes.
Jim Blackshay,
Yes.
and I vote yes. So that begins the 9-month process. There's an action plan that we will email to you and mail to you right away. There are several steps to go through. Basically, we are trying to make, process of seeing what else can be done. Can we get it restored? Can it be sold to someone who's more interested in restoring it. What are the options available to you? Would the adaptive reuse bylaw be of any help? Just getting up the plan. So with the action plan, the responsibilities of the owner on record are to ensure that you make a continuing bona fide and reasonable effort to conform to provisions of the bylaw. The obligation is to submit a proactive plan to the commission, either to preserve the property in whole or in part, or find another buyer willing to do so. And we're here to guide you through that process and outline the responsibilities. The action plan begins with documentation of assessments of rehabilitation by a licensed contractor or engineer. So that is one thing we would ask for. We're here to meet. We'll have regular meetings, and we can, you can give us updates along the way and attend those meetings. But we do require the documentation from a contractor, plans and documentation for future development that have been submitted to any board or commission in the town of Southborough. So that means this is basically to ensure that the property doesn't get torn down, and then plans that were discussed don't pass through zoning or some other step along the way, and then we're left with an empty lot or something along those lines. Some of the things they asked were a copy of the recent tax assessment, real estate or mortgage appraisal, and then details of the efforts to find a buyer willing to purchase the property at the appraised value. And there are, other things that we can include, but that's basically how the process goes. We kind of, and along the way, I would like to add that I am happy to research any assistance or benefits in restoring a property like this. I think if a property is on the National Historic Register, there are certain tax benefits that can be available. For example, if you donate an easement, which basically puts preservation restriction on the exterior of the home, you get certain tax credits for that. So that, I'm not saying that that would apply here. I'm just saying there are some things that can be helpful in mitigating the cost of renovating an older home. And I would be, more than willing to investigate those.
What was the time, you referenced a 9-month time frame? What is that?
So that would start basically today with this vote. That means that the building department cannot issue a demolition permit for the property for at least 9 months while we go through this process. And if everything, if all the requirements are met along the way, and at the end of it, we feel there's been a strong effort, a bona fide effort to sell the property to someone who's willing to renovate it or to, work out a way to renovate it. If all of those things have been met, then the permit would be issued. But if not, then we have to reevaluate. But basically the 9 months just kind of hits the pause button so that a historic property isn't demolished without careful consideration of how to preserve it.
Did you preserve Sandy Campbell's house on Main Street?
I don't recall, what number is that?
17. It's
Right next door to us. She sold her property a year or so ago to St. Mark's.
It's the western neighbor to me.
Right. Yeah. I think that there was no demolition permit pulled on that house,
Mhm.
so that would not trigger the demolition delay bylaw, and that we would not be involved. Unless someone wants, you can renovate a historic home, you can make alterations to a historic home. But the only thing that triggers our involvement is a request to completely demolish a historic home.
Okay, that's good information for me because that house has been, I would call it as close to demolished as you can get. So you're saying we can gut rehab 15 Main however we wish,
Absolutely.
Yes.
as long as it doesn't require a demolition permit.
Mhm.
So as long as we stay within the bounds requiring a demolition permit, we can basically rebuild the entire house, quite similar to the house next to it.
Not the exterior. You can't tear down the exterior.
Right. The exterior footprint, I believe, needs to remain the same.
Did it get smaller?
I think you could take off an extension.
So the property currently is zoned for a 3-family house.
Mhm. You,
Karen would prefer a 1-family house, which I think the town of Southborough would like that as well.
I think so, probably.
So
I think
So-
some of that is, I think, and I'm sorry, I didn't tour the property and, but I thought I had read somewhere perhaps, some of the additions fairly new? Do they not qualify?
I don't think any of them are after 1945. I would be
Oh, okay.
surprised, or 1925. I would be surprised, but it's
Mm.
possible. I mean, does
Well,
not appear that
we
way.
have work to do.
And I think a big part of the process is just us really communicating, you guys letting us know feedback from licensed contractors, letting us know some of the plans. I think just open communication. It's not that we don't empathize with the significant process that it would take to renovate that property. It is very large. Like I said, I walk by it daily. Our just main goal is to try to preserve as much as we can in town. And I'm sure you guys know too, that so many of those beautiful properties have disappeared. And so we want to be able to communicate, and if we can prevent it from being torn down, and you're able to modify it however you want on the interior to make it accommodate your lifestyle, we are in support. We would just like to try to help support you maintain the exterior of that property.
And you could potentially shrink the footprint. I will have to double check on that, but I don't see how that wouldn't be possible. It would just be a demolition for part of the building,
Yeah.
not the entire building. So I don't think that would be an issue, but I do need to double check.
All right, well, we got a permit to take down a garage, so that I suspect let us take down a portion of it, but
Yeah, I can't see why not. Yeah.
No, I don't have any questions to do. I guess I'll just get some, a bunch of paperwork together and present it to the board.
And the action plan really lays out what we request that you provide, and we have that ready to go for you all, so.
Okay. The biggest desire of mine is to have a smaller house, a more efficient house. Currently I have water problems in every single room of the house. And I did discuss with my contractor doing another home in Southborough, I did a complete gut rehab. The reason that he told me not to do that is because the Fieldstone foundation is only on the front part of the house. The rear part of the house is just an unaccessible crawl space. So that's not going to help us. And then the Fieldstone foundation is really So, I mean, if I could pick up the house and push it back onto a new foundation, it sounds like you wouldn't like that either. You want the house to stay in the location that it's in.
Well, you mostly just, you want the exterior to look the way it does, I'm assuming.
Yes.
Yeah, so if it moves
Yeah.
10 feet, I don't think that really concerns you.
I think,
I don't know the answer to that, but Rebecca,
Pretty-
do you?
I'm not exactly sure. So you putting it on a new foundation, basically, like raising it up and putting a new foundation under, you could raise it up and put a new foundation underneath. You could potentially move it back. That's, I don't think qualifies as demolition either, but again, that hasn't come up before. And I think this group of volunteers being relatively new would have to.
Yeah.
have
So,
to-
and
Investigate a little.
all of that is kind of like cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs, because that would be just so exorbitantly expensive. It wouldn't make sense.
Yeah.
But the problems that we have with the house is I want it to be set back a little bit further so that I can safely make a driveway that I can get in and out of without getting killed. And the other issues that we talked about. But
Mhm.
I'll work on the paperwork that you have. I'll talk to my contractor and we'll present you with the challenges.
Karen,
Yeah.
let me ask a question if I may. You made the reference to Cocoa Puffs a minute ago, but are you saying that ideally you would be able to lift the house, move it if that was permitted, or you'd not?
What I mean by that, Jim, is, yeah, when I say it's cuckoo for, it's just a crazy idea because it would be so expensive to lift up the home, move it back 10 feet onto a new foundation, and then still do all the other things to the house that need to be done to make it, a more efficient, sustainable, and aesthetically pleasing house. So right now, for example, the plastic siding and plastic windows they're really not historic. They're,
Mhm.
right? I mean,
Mhm.
They're aftermarket, no doubt.
so what I have planned is much more pleasing and much more in keeping with the downtown Southborough, vision that it sounds like you have. It's just in order for me to build the house that I'm envisioning, I don't want to build it twice.
Yeah, I
Understand.
mean, I think we have to figure out how to build what Karen wants without a demolition permit. So that's my takeaway from today. But
So
she's
we
gonna
can,
do a nice
we-
house. Build you a real nice house. You're gonna like walking past it, Kathleen.
I bet I will.
Come
I was
and-
going to say, we
come
can
and
come
have
back
tea
to you- we can come back to you with clarification on whether gut rehab is causing any red flags. We don't think so, but we can come back. definitive.
Gut rehab.
Yeah,
definitely
that
not-
doesn't matter.
That
Yeah.
is not a problem. Do whatever you want inside.
Yeah.
Is the open question about shrinking the footprint then that we still need to clarify?
And I'm 99% sure you can do that.
And I can raise the roof.
I'm not sure, but that would be a zoning issue potentially, but yeah. I don't have a lot of information about that, but that would not be a problem for us.
Yeah.
Well, I think we can work within these parameters and we'll just stay in touch with you and we know what we need to achieve.
Yeah, I really appreciate it.
Typically, this stays on our agenda now. For the, it's
Yeah.
for at all of our monthly meetings, you guys will be on our agenda and are encouraged to attend. Share with us whatever you have for paperwork, information. Correct? Right? That's-
And keep a watch out for the action plan and
Yes.
and I just want to thank you for taking the care that you have for as long as you've been there with the property because it is still really in very good shape. I know there are issues I could see some of them today, but
Well,
I
it-
mean,
Very beautiful home, and Karen's made it a very beautiful home, and it
Yes.
has a side apartment that has a nice revenue stream. It's been nothing but a positive for us.
mhm,
And we know we could have taken other routes. We've had offers to sell the property.
mhm,
So there are, it's, as I said, it's zoned for 3-family.
mhm.
It has a commercial zone on it as well. So we clearly could take other more profitable routes, but the truth of the matter is Karen loves living there and she expects to live there for a long time. And we hope we can accommodate that in a way that Southborough is pleased with.
I hope so too.
Same.
Yeah, great. Well, thank you for coming, both of you.
Thank you,
Bye.
everybody.
All
Thank
right,
you.
bye-bye.
Thanks for all the best.
Bye.
Close the public hearing.
We're still live.
All right. So what time is it that we're 6:07?
6:07. Are we doing anything else? Are we talking about the bond release?
Yeah, we have an agenda.
Okay, I thought so.
I talked to JDP before we got on. He couldn't make it, but I said I didn't really think it was necessary. But he's around if we need to ask him something. He's almost done the work that
Yeah.
wasn't done anyway, and Aldo seemed perfectly fine. So I'm perfectly fine with voting to release the bond.
I
Do we
move that we.
want to ask? Oh, I'm sorry, Jim. I
Right.
apologize.
Are we
Go
ready
ahead.
to make a motion to release
I
it?
am.
Well, what
can I-
about, do you
can we
want to
mo-
get a tentative date from him about when everything will be done? I mean, it literally, I walk by every day. It looks like there's like a quarter of work to be done. So
I know. Yeah, I think it'll be days, but I can ask him if you want. I
Can
don't
we
know.
table the vote for just a second?
Sure.
Do you want to go in order of the agenda?
Oh,
I suppose.
what's on the agenda tonight?
Okay, so someone has to make a motion. Did anyone get a chance to look at the minutes? I'm
I
sorry
did.
I sent them so late.
I do have
If you haven't had,
I read them. I have an edit for you.
I haven't actually made it all the way through. We could just push those till next, or
okay,
It doesn't matter to me. I've read them, but
did you read them, Jim?
I actually don't have access to the drive. I've asked for permission and haven't gotten it back.
oh,
Oh,
sorry. I don't know how to do that. That's not,
well, I did set up a Google account for us today for
Do you
the
need that-
Historical Commission, but I haven't moved everything over to and I haven't sent out the information. I did it as a business and I want to go back and make sure that's how we want it, because there were
Right.
some requirements for information if you're doing it as a business. So I might just do it as an individual instead, and we'll all just have the login.
Right.
But as for the minutes, should we?
why don't we table it, I
Yeah.
guess?
yeah.
Okay.
Is it breaking the rules to send them as a PDF? Because if not, that's the easiest for me to see.
No, it's not breaking the rules.
I always share it as a Google document and then I change it to a PDF after they're approved and send them to the.
Right. Now, that would be the most collaborative from editing point of view, but twice now, it says I need access and I hit the request button and don't hear back.
Okay.
It may not be coming to you.
I'm sorry, Jim, I'm having trouble hearing you. I've had difficulty the whole time. I don't know, it might be your microphone or my speaker, but it's
Let
a
me
little
try
distorted.
saying 2 months in a row now. It's been difficult. I click on the link that you send in the email. It comes up with a screen that I need to request access. When I do, I don't hear back.
Yeah, I haven't received anything either to grant you access.
That's what I suspected, yeah.
I'll send everything to the new Google account and I'll send everybody the login information, and then you can just go in and look at all the minutes in there, and that's where I'll write them in there from now on so that we
Okay.
all can access them that way.
Great.
So do we have to vote to table the minutes?
No, we can just push them off.
All right,
Can you vote without it, with one abstention? Or do you need all four of us to vote on the minutes? Because if three of you are happy with them, I can abstain.
Doesn't it have to be a quorum of people voting?
I think so.
I think so too. Let's
You're
just
not?
wait.
All
I
right.
think it's smart to wait.
Yeah, because treasurer's report.
I have nothing to report.
Okay.
We met so recently, I don't have any bills that have come through, so I have nothing to report.
And now the bond release.
Okay.
That's awesome. Great.
So does someone want to make a motion to,
Well, I would just say, I think we should just, to get on record, is just ask John for, I think just good for our records too. I think as far as the bond goes, my understanding is that it's only the exterior of the main house, the chapel and the carriage house that
That's
are under our purview. So I am comfortable releasing the bond because it's literally, I don't even think it's a quarter left on the carriage house that needs to be done. I think it would be good for us to just ask him to give us a tentative date of completion on both just the carriage house, which is under our purview, and even just in case people ask us questions, perhaps a tentative date that the landscaping exterior might be finished, even though that could just be for informational purposes.
right, so he told me it's mostly, even the landscaping is mostly done. The rest will be done by spring.
Okay.
They are, I think, possibly going to occupy it in the spring.
Okay. All right.
And I've texted him for the date on the carriage house, although he said he was,
I mean, I agree that it's really, it looks mostly done. I think it's just even reading Aldo's letter. I just think for us to have a date on record, just a good idea.
Okay.
Tentative date. And that's all.
wait until I hear from him. Maybe we can move on to,
Well, no,
Can
I
we-
think that we can vote to release the bond. I don't have a
Okay.
problem with that. I think
All
we
right.
should just have, I think
pending.
we should just have a date in case somebody asks us that question. And I think after the fact for us to, if he doesn't get back to us during this meeting, I don't think it's an issue. I just think it's a matter of record keeping for us to just be informed.
I
Super.
would agree. So
Sounds
I
great.
move to release the bond on 84 Main Street.
A second. Okay, roll call, removing the bond on, a motion to remove the bond, approve the removal of the bond on 84 Main Street. Does that sound right?
Yes.
Kate,
Yes.
Amanda Gleason,
Yes.
Jim Blaschke,
Yes.
and Rebecca says yes. I don't know. So I already sent this letter, we looked at this, the letter of support from Michael to the commission. So what's happening with that is that it was supposed to be tonight, but there was some miscommunication regarding his invitation to come. They thought he didn't respond, but he did. So I spoke to, I emailed with Marty, I spoke to Lisa today, and I've been in communication with Sam. And it will be on the next meeting, I believe in September, which I think is possibly the 8th.
Guys, unmuted.
Oh.
No, you're not.
I thought I unmuted.
We can hear you. Would,
I got a note said, please unmute.
do you want me to promote you to panelist, Sam?
Nope, just listening. So
Okay.
no problem. I will mute again then. So.
Alrighty.
Okay, so that's not till September. Okay.
Yep. South Union School. Well, I sent the response back that we looked at. They will be in contact if they need any more information. He said something else. Let me just call that up and share it with you because I have forgotten what he said. Oh yeah, okay. Please let me know if anything additional comes out of your next meeting, and I will report back as well on any steps we are taking once we get the Board of Selectmen to weigh in. That was from Jason.
Yeah.
So do we
They're
have,
looking to sell the property because the town owns the property,
correct.
like Fayetteville Hall.
They're looking at it.
Mhm.
I think it's, does anybody know what's happening in that building right
I
now?
thought it was just the rec department. I think the rec department is still there, but that's it, I thought. Am I wrong? Does anybody else know?
That's what I thought. I thought it was just the rec department.
Yeah. It's a beautiful building.
Yeah.
You know, but I understand it's hard for the, you know, it's hard for a town to own I'm sorry. It's hard for towns to own properties like that, so I understand that. I just I wouldn't like to see that anything happen to that building.
I'm curious about getting a preservation restriction on it as a,
Oh, youth, Sam just said that Youth and Family Services is also there. That's
oh,
right.
okay. As a requirement for sale, and I don't know if that's something that, I mean, that is already on the National Register of Historic Places.
Okay.
It has the plaque and everything. So I feel like it wouldn't be unreasonable to attempt to get a preservation restriction on the exterior prior to sale. I just don't know how that happens and we'll need to consult. But what do you guys think about that?
I think that's great. I don't know what you do about all that, but
Yeah.
I think we wait to see what the
What he
next
comes
steps
back
are
with.
with what's it, the capital planning committee.
Yeah. In the meantime, I might start looking into that process and see how and if that could happen. I mean, it might just be a suggestion we can make. It would be nice kind of thing. I expect that that's the case unless it requires a town meeting vote or something. John says he can't finish because he's delayed by National Grid, and once they've completed their work, he'll finish it in the next month or so.
Okay. That's just good for us to have on record.
Yeah, I mean, it is a lovely building and I would just be heartbroken to see it torn down.
Me too.
So I'd like to do anything we can.
Agreed.
But I do understand why the town doesn't want to, I mean, I'm
Of
just.
course, it's expensive for towns to own
Huge.
properties like that. Yeah.
Update on 12 Walker. I do not have anything except that I feel we should maybe send them another letter. I can
We haven't
email,
heard anything from them.
which I find odd.
They haven't reached out and said nothing, and they know the ball's in their court. They're supposed to be giving us information.
Mhm.
Maybe just a reminder email,
Yeah, I guess I'll email them again.
just a reminder email.
I mean, I guess they're not in a huge hurry, apparently, but I will, I'll follow up with them.
Yeah.
Do we have any other business?
I don't have anything.
Not for me.
Great. Well, I think that all went pretty well.
I think so too.
So we need to get the action plan out in 5 days. So I think that should probably go in the mail like right away.
I have it done, so I can send it
Yeah,
tomorrow. We've emailed them in the past. Does it need to be mailed?
I think it wouldn't be a bad idea to do both in this time, but I can email her, and then also if we can follow up with a hard copy,
Mhm.
if you think that's
I can do that.
Out of curiosity, this notion she had of moving the house back, as long as the exterior appearance remains the same, is that permitted?
I would expect it would be, yes.
I think so too. Yeah.
You know, and it sounds, I mean, when I lived in San Jose, termites were an issue in that part of California. So foundations were routinely cranked up and, you know, the houses were cranked up, the foundation was taken out and they were rebuilt. It happened. Moving is another story, but I really don't know. It might be something to investigate. I mean,
Yeah, I don't know the answer, but yeah, I can't
I-
see
I-
that being a problem.
I understood what she said about making the house twice, because if you redo the foundation, that's one thing, but if you do a gut renovation, that's a whole other set of construction. You do that on existing. So it is probably more expensive than building new, but maybe not in a smaller footprint. So
Yeah.
if that-
yeah,
I was
and
about-
there,
I was
I
about-
hope that there's something that they can work out that will work for her and will, you know, work for us too.
Agreed.
it's a little hard to envision what she has in mind when she says smaller footprint and so on, but it would be great if they could provide us with renderings or a rendering of what the concept of the thing, not a
Yeah.
detailed
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, sure. Yeah.
dimension drawing with everything else. Just here's what we're thinking about doing. I presume that if they do that, the window locations have got to stay in the same place, right?
Not necessarily. You can make a lot of changes to the property without a full demolition. And I think right now that's where we are. I mean, I don't think we can really tell people you can't move a window in your house. I don't think that's part of our,
I don't think so either.
Okay.
our authority.
Well, that's
I-
I like.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, so yeah, I do hope that it works out. Maybe some compromise of keeping it sort of where it is, but making it smaller would work. Or
Agreed. Should we set a date for our next meeting?
yes, September.
No.
So it looks like the 8th will be the Board of Selectmen meeting. And would we want to have it after that?
I would think so, because that's only 3 weeks away.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I'd say the 15th or the 22nd.
Doesn't necessarily have to be a Tuesday if we don't
Yeah,
want it to be,
Yeah,
but
I can't do the 14th just because I have planning board, but I can, but I can do that Monday, but I could do the 21st as well.
I can do 15th, 22nd. Hey, you know, I'm not going anywhere.
I know, same. So yeah. Yeah, what do people
I can
think?
do any of those.
Okay.
Yeah.
Jim?
What's your,
I'm just checking the calendar. So he's saying what two choices, please?
maybe, well, 15th, 22nd,
I'm fine with the 21st.
Mhm.
23rd. work.
I have a master plan meeting on the 23rd. I cannot go to
Okay.
that.
15th to the 22nd are fine. I might need to request a 6:30 rather than a 6 o'clock start.
Okay.
Doesn't matter to me.
All right,
Me
let's
neither.
do the 22nd.
Second?
6:30?
At 6:30.
Yeah.
Okay,
Terrific, thank you.
sounds like a good idea.
6:30. All right, guys, thank you.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
I
Second,
second the motion.
Are we done?
we're done.
Yeah, nice to see you guys. Roll
See you.
call adjourn. We have to roll call vote.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Kathleen Battles,
Yes.
Amanda Gleason,
Yes.
Jim Blacksheet,
Yes.
Rebecca says, yes, adjourn, please. Oh, wait, there's something in chat. What's that? Oh, yeah, okay, nothing. Okay,
Nice to see you guys. I hope you're all
You
well.
too.
you too.
Yeah.
Bye.
Bye,
Be
guys.
well.
Take care. Bye.